Father Alaric Donovan was born into an unassuming, devout Catholic family in the small village of Evrin, nestled in the remote highlands of Ireland. His father was a carpenter, and his mother a school teacher. From an early age, Alaric was different. He was quiet, observant, and deeply spiritual, though not in the way others were. By the age of 6, he claimed he could see shadows moving in the corners of his room, but his parents dismissed it as childish imagination. The village had its fair share of superstitions, whispers of curses, fairies, and restless spirits were common, but Alaric's experiences were something darker. One night, as a boy of 8, he awoke to find a figure standing at the foot of his bed, a hollow-eyed man whose mouth moved in silent prayer. Alaric couldn't scream, couldn't move. When the figure disappeared, his life was never the same. By the time Alaric entered his teenage years, the sightings became more frequent, and they grew more violent. He saw things others could not, disembodied voices, shifting shapes in the shadows, and most disturbingly, people, neighbors, friends, who carried something dark within them. He had an acute sensitivity to possession, to the evil that latched onto human souls. At 16, during a violent thunderstorm, his mother fell into a deep, unnatural trance. Her voice changed, becoming guttural, twisted. His father panicked, but Alaric knew what to do. With no formal training, he prayed over his mother for hours, until the strange voice howled and left her body. His father, terrified of what had occurred, demanded that Alaric leave the house the next day, unable to accept the supernatural events. Cast out, Alaric made his way to the nearest monastery. The local clergy had heard rumors of him and had seen his mother recover. Word spread quickly, and the Catholic Church took an interest in the young man with the unexplainable gift. At 18, Alaric was accepted into a seminary in Rome, where he learned the deeper arts of theology, scripture, and most importantly, the rituals of exorcism. His talent for sensing and confronting dark forces was unprecedented. It wasn't long before he was recruited into the Vatican's secret order, Ordo Sancti Michaelis, an elite group of priests specializing in combating demonic entities. The training was brutal, both physically and spiritually. Alaric faced tests not just of faith, but of his very sanity. His first true exorcism at 24 was in a remote village in southern Italy. A girl of 12 had become possessed, her body contorted in unnatural ways, her eyes glowing with malevolent intent. The experience nearly broke him. The entity knew his deepest fears, his insecurities, and taunted him relentlessly. But with days of unyielding prayer, holy water, and a battle of wills, Alaric finally cast the demon out. Father Alaric's reputation grew quickly. He was sent all over the world, from rural towns to major cities, dealing with cases of possession that others could not touch. But the constant exposure to evil took its toll. By his early 30s, Alaric had become a hardened, weary figure. His faith was unshakable, but his soul bore the scars of years of spiritual warfare. He had confronted more demons than any priest alive, yet with each exorcism, he felt a small piece of himself slipping away. He began to suffer from horrific nightmares, visions of the damned, of battles he couldn't win. In the dark of night, he often questioned whether the evil he fought was seeping into him, whether there was a price to be paid for all the darkness he had expelled. He drank to numb the visions and distanced himself from the church's hierarchy, focusing only on his work. At the age of 37, Alaric faced his most harrowing exorcism yet, one that nearly ended his life. In Prague, a well-connected noble family had begged the church for help. Their youngest son, Lucian, had been possessed for years, and no priest could expel the demon within him. The entity was ancient, powerful, and cunning. It had rooted itself so deeply into Lucian's soul that to remove it might mean killing the boy. For weeks, Alaric battled the demon. It tore through the boy's body, speaking in ancient tongues, conjuring unnatural forces in the room. The demon knew Alaric's sins, his doubts, and it used them against him, taunting him with the souls he could not save. One night, when Alaric was on the brink of defeat, something changed. A voice, not the demon's, but something else, spoke to him, guiding him through the final ritual. The demon was expelled, but Lucian's body was left comatose, and Alaric's hands were covered in scars that would never heal. Now, in his 40s, Father Alaric lives a life of seclusion. He works alone, answering calls only when the situation is dire. He carries a reputation as the man who fights the most dangerous forces of evil, but his soul is battle-worn, and the darkness always seems to follow him. Some say he's a living saint, others believe he's tainted by the evil he's fought for so long. His days are spent in prayer, his nights in restless vigil, waiting for the next battle that will come knocking at his door. But the deeper secret is this: Alaric fears that one day, the darkness might win.